Welcome. Thank you for tuning in Neptune Knives. When I do these tests, and I show these knives flaws, as a business, it doesn't help me. For example, if the military is a very popular item, and I go and prove the military wrong, and therefore feel obligated to not sell it because I'm telling you it's bad, that kind of like defeats the purpose of me then running a business. But at the same time, I feel morally responsible to suggest only knives that I know would be you can trust and are safe to use. At least let you know what the knife can and cannot do. And I've burned a lot of bridges doing these videos. And believe it or not, there are custom knife makers, yes, you, if you're watching, that are even afraid to let me carry their products because of what I may do to their knife and what the flaws I may reveal. Because and that's understandable, sure, I guess. They're smaller companies, smaller startups, and they're just trying to move their products. But the point is, if you're going to give someone a knife and they're going to trust it, you can't be afraid then of the truth being known. And so that's why I do these videos. And so as of today, right now I'm in good standing with both Strider and Combative Edge, which is nice. And I'll get into that in a second. And Spyderco is easy to get, and I like a couple custom knife makers, but other ones, we'll see if they're ever brave enough. Now, that Combative Edge you see in the top left corner, I wanted to mention that I really like the M1. That M1 is an awesome knife, and though I did the the SR11 video first, perhaps I should have done the M1 first to let you guys know how much I like that Combative Edge M1. And I wanted to say that Mr. Walker, he's a small, right now, Combative Edge is a small operation, that he's one of the knife makers, that are willing to let me do this and let me, test his knife, and I have to say then that he's got my respect, and he deserves your respect too. Now let's get to these knives here. Now today we're going to go over frame locks, specifically production frame locks, and some of I would say the ways they go about making them work, although it's not necessarily the most refined way, and it leads to the lock wearing out quicker, to then the production frame locks that are not good at all, and then liner locks and how they compare. And to quickly go over, we'll start over here. All those knives right there are not safe. All those knives up there are safe but compromised. These knives right here are safe enough. Better than those. Somewhat, maybe possibly than those. Okay. Down here you have, I would say, locks at production level. These locks are superior. That's a custom. Back locks only catches that. Back locks I said over here because that's not as good. Towards the stuff isn't as good. And then over here are frame locks that are done right. And we're going to go over which ones are done wrong and why, and some of the things. Okay. And bear in mind, I'm not an expert, so just take what I say with and go with it, and perhaps like go research more. Okay, it's not like the end all of everything. But regardless, I do want this video to be out there because I think people don't really realize perhaps some of these things. Now, the main thing is frame locks. They're archaic. That's all I'm going to say. It is basically saying, take one piece of metal and stick it up against another piece of metal, and they let them rub against each other, and that's the lock. And at production level, like Chris Reeve knives, which I do not at all, very sad, endorse or want to ever suggest to anyone. And even this titanium liner lock. These knives are not safe. And because basically what it is, it's something, now this is, I think, the correct term. This is at least told to me by the custom knife maker. It's called lock rock, meaning this. See that? That is lock rock. And what happens is, from production level knives, the back of the lock bar face, this is the top of this lock bar is called a lock bar face. And the back of the blade tang is called, let's just call it the lock bar, the blade tang, where it meets, okay? Regardless, it would be a lot of time and money and and effort to, how do you say, specifically, okay, there is an angle that has to be on this blade tang, and then there's an angle that has to be on the lock bar. But, you know, so how to say, like, the angle of the blade tang, I can't remember which one's supposed to be the greater angle. But the point is this: on production level knives, they don't go in there and grind that lock bar face to that angle always to match the blade tang. So what they do is, you know, just to save money, they create a, you know, it's just cut flat, and then you know, they just let you use it and let it wear. Now, what can happen then is, as the lock bar wears out, you know, it'll be at an angle then that lets that lock bar get pushed and unlocked. So, for example, I'm gonna have Mel hold this camera right here, okay? Okay. Oh, this is so dangerous. Okay, there. You see it? Did you get that? Okay. I'm gonna stop recording. Okay. So now here's the Zan. Okay. Okay. What you need here, zoom in, Mel. You need to zoom in right here, okay? Just look for movement, okay, people? Do you see? Watch. Let's see if I push it that way. Okay, let's say I pushed it. Okay? You see that distance? Okay. Do you see it open or not? Can you see it? Oh, you, Mel. Can people, the viewers, see? Okay, it's hard to show on this one. Here, pause. Here, you don't need to watch. I can get it in the camera, okay? Okay, there we go. Okay, got that? Mm-hmm. Now this knife, I've done the last video, so I'm not going to do unlock it. Just go watch that video. But you can see as I push it, it moves, okay? Now, a lot of this has to do with, first, titanium can't be hardened or it just starts deteriorating. Hardened, not flamed and heated, or, you know, to make it right there, like harden the lock bar surface. I mean, like as in hardened and beyond what it's supposed to be. So titanium's always soft, and depending what steel titanium mates with, you know, what you're going to get is the titanium smoothing out, and titanium always will flex, and you'll get the back of the blade tang depending on the quality of the knife, and how, you know, it'll smooth out a certain little area too. Titanium is flexible, so for example, let's see, a good example of flexibility. Okay, well, I'll get to that. The main thing is titanium is flexible, so it's never really a solid lockup. And that's why on custom knives, such as, well, I don't want to mention that name of that one guy yet, because I'm not sure if he'll let me sell his knives. But for example, on this Super Beast prototype by Three Sisters Forge, okay, it's carbidized, meaning there's tungsten carbide, meaning tungsten is a tool steel, basically like an M4, but it's T, the other option compared to molybdenum, which was basically like added on to that lock bar right there, right on the lock bar face, so that when you open the knife, there is no flex or give on that lock bar face. So this is more solid, and also it would of course depend on how thick the lock bar is. So, you know, you have to look at liner locks. And here, let me give you an example of this one. This might be the best. Okay, well on this, here you got a little right in the range. But regardless, this thing is under 2mm liner. Okay, now next to a Valaton, same thing. The Valaton is not necessarily, it's the same actually. Let's see. Let me measure this. This is under 2mm also. Other liner locks. Well, regardless, okay, this is beefy. This is stainless steel. Now, okay, so first of all, okay, titanium as a liner lock, to me, I don't suggest it, okay? I would rather have rigidity, and I'll explain that in a second. Okay, now a lot of this has to do with, first, the design of, okay, first of all, Mr. Reeves is nice. He's a nice guy. Got good business sense, got good business integrity. I feel that he's a man of integrity. But he never said that he wanted to make tactical knives. That was never his thing, and that's never his theme. So regardless, you know, you have to look at that, okay? Okay. So first of all, okay, now how the lock bar meets the blade tang is what really now is the way to prevent that from happening, okay? And there's a couple ways. Now if you look here on Mr. Reeves' knives, okay, now first of all, do you notice how the block bar sticks out past? Does this on a military, sticks past the blade tang. Okay. Does this on this lum tanto. The liner sticks out past the blade tang. And of course, especially on this Valentine, okay? Now, does a lum tanto disengage? No. The Sabenza does. So it's not the fact that it sticks out. The military does not disengage, okay? But when we get to the best knives, I'll show what it should be like. Now, regardless, knives then, so these are production knives, liners and frame locks, okay? But when the block bar is straight across, I mean flush with the blade tang, it just has nowhere to go. The lock bar can only go out that way because there's a slant, okay? And because they're not mated right, you know, and taking that time to do that, it's going to be like that. So regardless, you can't escape that. So in many ways, if a knife is a frame lock knife and it's going to be production, it should not be. You should not look at the lock. You should look at the overall safety of it. Like there should be a choil or a finger guard as a backup. You know, and correct, you're gripping the knife and you're helping the lock bar lock, but at the same time, I mean, those karambits, you know, that whole Philippine martial arts stuff, they use, you know, they have a hole to put your finger in so that you don't drop the knife. Because realistic speaking, and now let's go on to Strider, why would then Strider, you know, have such little, like, you know, they give up so much blade, you know, for a choil, and then they even remove more. I mean, it's like they're keeping as much of the blade away from your hand as possible, as if, you know, they knew in military applications. I mean, if you could imagine while you're being shot at, you know, or while, you know, dirt's being kicked up in your face, you know, what do? You know, it's you have to have something safe as a backup to fall upon, and these knives don't particularly do that. Okay, so I would always consider that if you're going to get a production frame lock, you should have a finger guard or a choil, and, you know, understand you should be more of the lock, meaning like this combative edge, to where even if it failed, your finger's so close up to it that you're still basically pushing that entire piece of metal with your two fingers into something. It doesn't really matter. Now a way that now production knives that don't disengage is now, okay, and this is the most common method you'll see, is this, okay? Look at this blade tang. Okay, let's get it in the light if I can. Okay, I'll get Mel to get her flashlight. Okay, point is this. Okay, first of all, Fox knives, I mean combative edge and Fox military knives, and Fox knives in general, they have this knack for doing this way, okay? The back of the blade tang is always very small. You see how small that is, even on this big knife? Combative edge. It's a small blade tang. Okay, and it meets the lock bar ahead of the lock bar, meaning, you see this? It goes forward of it, like outside of it. And you can see it's not flush. It actually it starts to grow a gap. As it goes this way, a gap there's more of a gap, and then it becomes tight and touches around here. So it wears out a corner. Same thing as a Strider. Okay, can you see that corner? Hold on. You can kind of see it reflecting right there. We go. It wears out that corner. It'll do it to this new one. You don't need to lie anymore, Mel. It'll do that to this new one because if you actually ever look at a Strider, it only touches a small part of the blade tang. So in reality, these Striders have these blade tangs like that, right? It's still the same thing as a Fox knife. And even in the military now, if you see there's a gap that grows. Now this one doesn't meet it ahead of the blade tang, but regardless, you see it's a corner that touches each other. And what that does is then that gap allows the lock bar to push inward, push that way when there's pressure. So basically that's why my lock bar, when it's flush, which now is a Fox knife flaw, when Fox knives and combative edge, because it's made by Fox, they have it flush. Basically not like Sabenzas, where the lock bar sticks out a little bit. And so they tend to, you know, basically it's like that Strider. That point hits that point, and it pushes, and eventually it wears out this corner. And it pushes the knife in that way. And what that basically means is, well, it won't disengage. Don't forget, titanium is tougher than steel, but titanium can still bend. Your steel liner may bend, you know, and bend in, but it won't disengage.